So I'm very glad that the dreadful November is over. I don't know about you folks, but November hasn't been good for me. Even with my birthday and wedding anniversary and all, I just don't like November. It's been rainy, windy, rainy, cold, rainy, cloudy, just dreadful. And it gets so dark so early, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the darkness lasts until 9 o'clock in the morning. The next day, it's like 16 to 17 hours of a whole day. The 2/3 of the whole day is in total darkness. I mean, what do you do all day long in the dark? And with this pandemic lockdown, you can't even go anywhere, so you are stuck at home or your apartment. And what do? I mean, you can stare at each other just for so long. I mean, what do? Well, I know what a lot of young couples in my apartment are doing. Like every night and every morning, they're busy. You see, when you are living in a downtown apartment, as we do, living next to young couples all around you, on your left and right and up and down, every around you, you can't help but notice that every morning and every night, they're busy. So I'm always putting my earplugs before I go to sleep. Let me tell you, folks, next year there will be a population boom next year. Year 2000 to 2020, we call that internet generation. Now from next year, 2020 to beyond, we'll call that pandemic generation. And there'll be lots and lots of pandemic generation baby booms next year onward. Well, anyway, I'm just glad that December is here in the festive season of Christmas. Well, not exactly Christmas season yet, because Christmas season doesn't actually begin until December 25th. But you tell that to people out there, especially those people who are down south, they will say, no, it's already here. Did you know that in America, the festive season of Christmas really begins on Black Friday, on Thanksgiving weekend? You know, I heard that millions and millions of Americans travel to their family gatherings for their Thanksgiving celebration and maybe for Black Friday shoppings, disregarding government warnings and orders and that threat of coronavirus. Yeah, I mean, what's more important than a family get together during festive season of Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? You know, I think a lot of people believe that this coronavirus thing, somehow will just mysteriously disappear, would not infect them during the festive season. I don't know. Maybe they believe that this spirit of festival season would protect them from harms or something. I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll find out. Everywhere you look, it's Christmas already. I mean, it feels like already. We have Christmas trees decorated everywhere. You know, a place where we live, in English Bay Beach area, it's all decorated with a lot of lights. And look at our sanctuary. Isn't it pretty and beautiful? I feel like I'm in the midst of Christmas season already here. Beautiful. And thank you, Colleen and Ann, and the others who helped decorate our sanctuary. I wish you could come to church and view this beautiful decoration. Yeah. Well, on the second thought, please don't. Stay home, please. Stay home. We've had a Christmas and Advent dinner get-together already on Friday. Who's Zooming to dinner? And that was a lot of fun, right? I'm assuming that we were having a lot of fun because I'm recording this on Friday morning. So we are all prepared for Christmas. The feeling of Christmas is in the air already. Now, when you think about it, folks, the whole fun about Christmas is in its preparation in any year. It's in the anticipation and excitement of the season, the festive feeling before actual Christmas Day. Especially this year, with everything going around us, I think we deserve to celebrate early. So let's just prepare for the season already, folks. Let's just extend the festive season already. We have about 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks to go until Christmas Day, but let's just start preparing now, because it's never too early to prepare for Christmas. So how do you prepare so that Christmas truly becomes life-affirming, joy-filled, love-abound miracle of God that shines bright all around us, even in the darkest of dark December? How do we faithfully prepare for the coming of the Lord? Now, today I'm speaking from 2 Bible texts, from the Hebrew text, Isaiah chapter 40, and from Greek text, Mark, first chapter of Mark. So Isaiah chapter 40, where we find prophet Isaiah declaring God's promise of comfort. God speaks to prophet Isaiah. God says, "Comfort ye, my people. Speak tenderly to my people." And that's what God commanded his prophet to declare to his people, the Israelites, as they were about to be delivered out of exile that lasted more than 200 years under the Assyria and Babylonian empires. God says, "I bring you out from your slavery into your home, your homeland, to restore your nation once again. And you need to prepare to enter into that kingdom. Prepare the way of the Lord." And about 500 years later, John the Baptist, the messenger who is preparing the coming of the Messiah, he proclaims to those Israelites who are once again living under Roman occupation, Roman Empire, echoing the similar words of promise that prophet Isaiah declared a long time ago. He says, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord," and he baptizing people in the wilderness. So I want to give you 3 words for us to wrestle and challenge what it means to prepare for the birth of baby Jesus this year. Wilderness, tenderness, and shalom. 3 words. Where do you prepare? Well, in the wilderness. How do you prepare? By speaking tenderly. And what do you prepare? You prepare for shalom. We prepare by making peace. Now, to prepare for the way of the Lord, first we are to go into the wilderness. Stay in the wilderness. And to help burst the springs of living waters in that wilderness. What's in the wilderness? What's wilderness like? Like desert is like? What's in the desert? Well, not much. Full of sand, tumbleweeds, snakes, scorpions, hot sun, and sand. Not much is in the desert. Water is scarce, trees are scarce, food is scarce, life is scarce. An inhospitable place to live, empty and barren. I mean, we would not venture into the desert because it's full of emptiness, full of unwelcome presence. Inhospitable place to dwell. It's a barren and broken place. But both Isaiah, John, and John the Baptist are calling people to prepare the way of the Lord in the wilderness, in the place of brokenness. And that's where John the Baptist find himself, the state. That's where many people gather to receive his baptism, in the wilderness, Now, the year 2020 has been brutal for everyone around the world. This pandemic crisis has put all of us into a wilderness place. We are all in this together, in our challenge, in our struggle, in our survival, in our suffering, in our brokenness, in our fight against the virus. We all find ourselves in a pandemic wilderness. We are all in this wilderness place together, folks. And that's where we begin, where we prepare for the coming of the baby king, the Prince of Peace. Like Prophet Isaiah declared, like John the Baptist declared in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord. We prepare the way of the Lord in our wilderness place. So how do you prepare? Well, maybe the first step, the place of wilderness we need to enter into, we need to be attentive to, is our own wilderness. We need to enter into our wilderness, into our brokenness, our place of struggle, suffering, pain, and challenge, and bring comfort there. Once again, it's been very harsh and brutal, hard year for all of us. So we need to be kind to ourselves. Folks, give yourself a break. Breathe deep and speak tenderly to your own heart first. You've gone through a lot this year. We all have gone through a lot. You've gone through a lot. So don't be too harsh on yourself. Look after your soul. Look after your heart, because it's fragile right now. It's very painful right now. Speak tenderly. Speak tenderly to that place first. Now, my wife, Sue, just came back from Edmonton to see our grandson. She was there for about 10 days altogether. Now, for all 10 days, like 24/7, like all 10 days, she was totally housebound. So she was like totally attached to our grandchild. And she didn't mind. She didn't mind. And while she was there in Edmonton, she sent me a lot of photos of her and our grandchild, Jace, together. She is so tender to her grandchild, so gentle, so kind, so warm, so loving, and so tender when she is with him, with our grandson. And I never knew she was, that tender, because I've never experienced that side of her before. I mean, she's nice and all that, but she's not a tender kind of person. Well, not to me, at least. So I was like, wow, that's so strange, but beautiful. Speaking and relating to our grandson with such a tender heart, tender voice, and tender care. Wow. Well, that's the image I think we need to have when we speak and relate with our own inner child, our inner grandchild. Because, you see, we all are a child here, or a grandchild inside, needing that love, that comfort, that care, that tenderness. And that's what I do once in a while. I look at the child in me and speak tenderly, like loving father or loving grandfather speaks to his grandchild. I know some of you might think that, wow, that's kind of cheesy, Richard. You don't do that. But you know what? We all need to care for the child in each one of us, especially when it's been so difficult and stressful for a while. Don't be harsh on yourself. Don't be too harsh. Don't speak badly on yourself. Don't be so tough on yourself. Just take your time and speak tenderly. Like God, the loving father or loving mother, looking at us and speaking to us with that tender voice. Are you okay, my child? Be gentle, be kind, be good to yourself. Make peace with a child in you. And then, only then, we can turn to others, those around us, all in our relations, and begin to share God's comfort, speaking tenderly. Now, once again, everyone is going through this COVID thing. Everyone, no exception, everyone is trying to cope with this pandemic crisis. And the level of stress is very, very high, so high, and including church ministers. Now, I read someplace and some article from an article says close to 60% of church ministers, I don't know whether I could believe it or not, but I bet that 60% of church ministers, they would quit from their ministry if they had a choice. This pandemic crisis has put so much strain on many church ministers and church staff. Many of them just want to quit, not just leave, just pack everything, leave everything behind. Now, I want you to know that I am not thinking about living or anything or anytime soon, just in case you were wondering. It's not me, I'm not into that. But it has not been all that great in the last few months. Like most church ministers who are trying to figure out what and how to minister during this pandemic crisis, I also have not been immune to the challenge and fear and uncertainty and worry and frustration, anxiousness, stress. And it feels like my whole world has been turned upside and down and inside and out, and I'm still not grounded yet. Still feel like I'm floating in the air. I also feel the same tension, same frustration and stress. When I feel anxious and stressed out, when I'm on the edge, I find myself getting short-fused. Want to steam out, want to lash out. So I really need to monitor myself. If I begin to relate with people with this frame of mind, it's going to add so much burden on others, affecting others' lives. So I need to monitor myself a lot, often basis. And I keep on praying, God, please let me not do that. And if I catch myself in this state of emotion, I tell myself, Richard, breathe. Richard, breathe. Trying not to react or slow in responding to emails. And I pray more than ever. And I try to smile more, try to compliment more, try to encourage a lot, because I know what people are going through right now. In such times like this, I'm called as a servant of God to stay put, to be a faithful presence and comforting presence to people who are broken, who are in their wilderness. I need to comfort them and relate with them in tender care, speak with them with a tenderness. And you see, it's not about getting the job done in times like this. It's about being kind and comforting them now. And now I'm not always successful in doing that, but I try, and I try, and I pray, and I pray. Just like all those gathered in the wilderness, looking for John the Baptist and expecting somehow the sprinkle of baptism could cure, could mend their own lives. We see so many broken and barren souls all around us and in us as well. And that's the place of wilderness we are called to enter. The broken, the barren, the fragile places within us and all around us. And God is calling us there, calling us to stay there, and calling us to speak God's comfort, to speak tenderly, to be a faithful and comforting presence. So folks, speak tenderly to your soul, and speak tenderly to all in your relations. And that's one tangible way to prepare for the coming of Christ in this Christmas. Make peace.